welcome to Tea for Talk. I'm your host, Hadley Morgan.
And I'm your co-host, Cameron Gaylor.
Today we have some really special guests on the podcast with us, so how about you guys introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Mrs. Vasquez. I teach English.
I'm Allison Garcia.
I'm Mr. Thomas.
All right, we are so excited to have them.
Yes.
Well, we have Miss V, who's, the English teacher here. Allison, she's a student here, but she's very smart in that writing category, so she'll be able to say a lot for us. And we have Mr. Thomas, who has actually written a book, so we'll ask him more about that later. But, all right, we're going to get into our inspirational quote. It says, "Just know that everyone's writing is terrible until it's not. No one's stuff is right immediately. You gotta work it, refine it, shape it, spend time with it. It's a relationship between you and what comes from you. Not easy. Gonna be terrible before it's not, and that's okay." And that's by Ava DuVernay. I really like that. It kind of just goes on what we're about to talk about. Like, I like how it's basically just saying that you can always improve your writing. Like, it's not something that you can't ever fix.
Yes, I agree.
It's gonna suck at first maybe, but it can always get better.
Yeah, no, there's definitely always room for improvement and to always get better on things.
Yeah.
Not just with like academics either. It's always just like in life. So I think that's a really good one.
Yeah, some things don't always come easy. So that's a good thing to know. Would you read the message from Principal Bagley, Cameron?
Yes. This principle isn't just about writing. It's about everything high school students are trying to become good at, whether it's sports, music, art, studying, or even friendships. No one gets it right immediately. Your first essay might be rough. Your first game might be full of mistakes. Your first attempt at playing an instrument, learning a new subject, or even navigating social situations might feel awkward or frustrating, and that's okay. Growth takes time. The key is to keep working at it, refine your skills, shape your understanding, spend time improving. Success is a relationship between you and the effort you put in. It's not easy, and yes, it's probably going to be messy at first, but that's how progress works. You go from terrible to not terrible to great, as long as you don't give up. I think she did a really good job at touching on that and just letting people know that it's in different things of life that we can
again, just improve. Not just writing or English, like it's in everything. And if you just keep working at it, then you'll be able to get really good at it.
Yeah, I like how she went into like the friendships part of it and even like the social, because like sometimes it can be awkward getting out and talking
especially
to new
when
people.
you're meeting new friends. That is a really hard thing to do sometimes. So
I think she touched really well on that.
Yeah, me too. All right, we're going to go up to our upcoming events. So March 25th is softball at Panguitch and the ACT test for juniors.
Ooh, fun.
No. March 26th, the golf at Fillmore. March 27th, the alumni career fair. March 28th, softball versus Panguitch at home. March 29th, track at North Sevier. April 1st, softball at North Sevier. And April 2nd through 3rd is the musical. Everyone come watch.
Yes, they've been working so hard.
April 4th is softball at Altamont and track at Hurricane. This is the event review. So girls basketball, state tournament February 26th through March 1st from Coach Westwood. We had a lot of challenges in the season because we didn't have enough players to play actual games, so that was the challenge. And then our subs were freshmen who were varsity, but I was proud of them because they kept fighting even when they were tired, even though they lost both games and were really close to getting into the winning side of state. Because we almost beat Monument Valley, and they're bigger than usual, so I think that it was tough to lose that one. Then they came through and did pretty good until the last game, but I'm proud of them for hanging in and fighting. And we also got 2 girls in the all-tournament team at state, I'm looking forward to next year. Didn't you make the all-state
I did.
team?
Yeah, it was super fun. We went and played with, it's funny because you go and play with like the girls that you have been against for 4 years straight, and then you become like friends with them instantly, so it's really fun and it was a cool opportunity.
Yeah, I always think those are like great games and so fun to watch, and like just great experiences for all you guys too to
definitely
have. The boys basketball state tournament February 26th through March 1st. They had a really great season. They played well as a team, and they just came short sadly at the end, but they played really well and they're excited for next season.
Yes.
State HOSA from Coach Fountain. We had 2 kids qualify for state and 1 qualifying for nationals this year. This is the 3rd year Paiute has competed in HOSA. Last year we had 6 kids make finals at state and 2 qualifiers for nationals. That seems like it was fun though.
No, that's cool. I wish I would have done HOSA. Like I regret not doing
me
it
too.
already.
I already have so much stuff. So I'm like, I couldn't do it. But it seems way fun. State FBLA from Coach Morgan. State was a great experience. We were very proud of all our students. They represented Paiute well. Community service, partnership with business, and American enterprise all took first place. And we had 3 other teams that placed in the top 10 in their events, and they are all looking forward to nationals. That was so fun. FBLA was so fun.
Yeah, it was fun this year, and it was just
Yeah.
cool because like it's been like a couple of years since we've even had any
Any
had like
first
top
place?
3, but
Yeah.
we had 3 first places, so that was pretty cool.
I remember getting on the stage for my events because I was so nervous, especially because I only had like 8 in mine. So I was like, oh my gosh, like we have such a good chance. And then they just kept calling them, and then, like we got first, and I was just, it was so
me
cool.
too.
It was so fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. Softball from Coach Gleave. We went to Kanab and only had 9 players since a few of our players couldn't make it. It went really well for a team that is quite young. We played 3 games against Kanab, Wayne, and Pineview and came up short in all of them. But it was a great experience for our beginning players, and we saw a few things that we definitely need to work on. I'm excited for softball. I feel like they could be really good this year.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that they won't do good things this year. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see how well they do.
Yeah, they have really great coaches too that will
Yeah,
help
for
them.
sure, yeah.
State FFA, March 13th through 14th. They had really fun, and it was a great experience for them. This week's personal development tip. Unplugging from technology can improve mental health and reduce stress and anxiety. It helps you focus better and improve sleep. Without distractions from screens, you can have meaningful face-to-face interactions and spend time on mindfulness activities, boosting emotional balance. It also helps combat the feelings of comparison from social media. It encourages physical activity, which supports overall well-being. Taking regular breaks from technology allows your mind to recharge.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think in today's society, especially like social media has such a big impact on especially teens' lives. Like I feel like people are always comparing themselves to what they're seeing on their phones or anywhere else. So I think it's a really good thing to maybe get away from it.
Yeah, unplugging from that
Yeah.
sometime. Yeah, it's a great idea. Okay, so now we're going to get into our interview and discussion with you guys. So be ready for a lot of questions. I guess I'll just start with one that is for all of you. Why or what or who made you wish to become an author?
Well, I'm going to defer mostly to Mr. Thomas because he has published himself as an author. I've published a few just articles that people have asked me to write. So I love to write, but I'm not good at what I want to do. I'm good at technical writing, critical writing, and I want to be a creative writer, but most of my stuff is kind of smarmy, and I really haven't had a chance to go into that very much because I have to do so much technical writing right now, and so when I retire, I'm hoping to do a little bit more with the creative side, but I'm going to have to work at it. But I do love to teach it as well, so I am not much of a creative writer, but I do love to also just write for people, helping them with instructions, directions, understanding concepts.
Yeah, you do a really great job of that. I don't know what we're going to do without you.
I know. It's
Oh,
We're going to be lost.
we're all replaceable.
I don't know if you are.
It's a
Miss-
sad
I was
fact.
like, I got you. I had you for all my years of high school.
Yeah.
and so I
Thank
was
you.
like,
You guys are very kind. Thank you. Allison is an awesome writer. What got you into it?
Probably reading Percy Jackson when I was younger. I've read that book probably a couple times over. Like practically memorized it by now. It's really inspired me a lot. And with me writing my book currently, I think I take a lot of similar themes with that and I just import it into my work kind of. But, obviously I change it because
yeah.
no, we're not going to copy Rick Riordan.
Yeah, I feel like when you see super creative stuff, that it can kind of light something for you, and give you like an idea or make you create your own idea,
Yeah, Allison, I did not know you were writing a book.
Yeah, me either.
Can you give us like a
That's
little
so cool.
sneak peek about it or anything?
I mean,
or-
it's like the most typical thing you could ever write. It's just teenagers dealing with like tons of like supernatural stuff like monsters and, facing the consequences of becoming adults at one point.
That's so awesome,
that's so
Allison.
cool
That's
for-
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll be so fun. Oh my gosh. Well, whenever you get it done, you need to let me know.
I
'cause-
want the first copy.
Yeah. No.
We do have a couple of other kids who are writing books as well.
Really?
Tegan's always writing a book.
Oh, cool.
So
Tegan, why are you keeping these secrets?
And yeah, he is going to be dedicating the first one to me. He has said that multiple times because I've
That's
bribed him.
awesome.
I've already done that. I've written it in to my Google Doc. I said, this is to my English teacher.
Oh my gosh.
So,
See, Miss V, you literally cannot be replaced. Like,
Oh, but I can.
all right, Mr. Thomas, what made you want to be an author?
I was a lot like Allison. I read a bunch of books. I loved books. I liked to be able to explore different areas that I didn't have access to, like through normal life. So, I mean, exploring through fantasy is kind of a different way to see things and to find new things out. And I was just moved so much by a lot of the things that I learned and experienced through reading that I was just like, I really want to do this. I want to do for other people what these authors did for me. And then after I kind of learned a little more about writing, after I tried writing, I realized it was kind of like running a marathon. Like you see people with those stickers on the back of their car that says 26.2, that's the length of a marathon in miles. And they're just bragging like, I ran a marathon. And you're like, well, did you win? Doesn't matter if you won. If you finished the marathon, like that's impressive. 26.2 miles at once. And I wanted to do that. So I've published a couple books. I've written a couple more. But it just kind of became one of those things where I was just like, I am going to finish this. Like, I need to do it just so I can say that I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, would you tell us anything about the books that you have published?
So the books that I published are, they're in the science fiction and fantasy genres. So it's really kind of, it's like a mixture of science fiction and fantasy. And I think they don't really suit a lot of people. That's one of the things that I learned as I started to write is it's like if you want to sell books, you need to write what people want to read. But I wrote books that I wanted to read. And I'm sure there's people out there that want to read them, but marketing and advertising is a completely different area. And how you get to those people, that's half of the writing, or half of being successful as an author, I should say. If you look at blogs or YouTube videos about what people are telling you, like successful authors about how to write and be successful, half of what they're telling you isn't how to write, it's how to sell your books. And I'm not willing to do that because I got other things to do.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with not being a super successful writer. I financially. I just write stuff because I want to write it, and maybe someday someone will read it and be like, wow, I really enjoyed that. And I'll be like, you're welcome.
I'm sure there's someone out there who would love your books. So I guess we'll go to, what do you believe makes a good author? This is mainly for the teachers, but Allison, you can answer too.
Authors who are really good read a lot and they research a lot. Writing a book means that you have done a lot of research about the people that you're writing about, the types of people that you're writing about. You need to do a lot of research about history and what has happened before. So good authors are really well balanced in their ideas. They're well balanced in their understanding of the human existence, and they're not afraid to be bold in the writing and to say what they really think needs to be said, because authors are usually trying to teach you a lesson, trying to teach you about life. And that's what makes reading so great, is because really great authors can totally change a person's life. Just reading one book sometimes will change a person's perspective. It's happened for me over and over, as I've read literature from around the world. It's just so transformative. But good authors understand the human existence really well. They understand psychology, they understand human development, and they understand what's happened in history. And that's a lot to ask of anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never even knew that.
Yeah,
all was that put into writing, like being a good
Being an
author. I
author.
did not think about that.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's way cool. Mr. Thomas?
So Mrs. V mentioned before she's really good at technical writing, but this depends on who you consult. So if you go to someone like Brandon Sanderson, who is arguably the most successful fantasy writer currently, who's still writing books. I mean, I think J.K. Rowling is the queen there as far as how much money has been made, but I don't really see her putting much out now. But Brandon Sanderson puts out books all the time, and he's also made millions of dollars. Not as much as J.K. Rowling, but the system that he uses is a lot more technical. Like, he has story structure, just like you have grammatical structure and you have sentence structure. He has a story structure method that he uses. And honestly, like, he has a bunch of stuff online that you can watch on YouTube and just see, like, how do you construct a story? And it's really technical. So I think, there's a lot of good stories, but there's not a lot of well-written stories. And so if you look at stuff like that and you kind of have a method to how you write, then that's going to help you be more successful and get your point across and be more enjoyable for the readers.
Yeah, I like that. I really have never thought about all the stuff that goes into actually like writing a book and like trying to be a good author. I always just thought I just had to be creative and good at English, but
no, me too.
no, there's so much that goes into it.
Well, and there's a lot of authors that are just really good instinctive authors. Okay, so you look at Neil Gaiman, like the way that he writes is completely different from how R.L. Stine, who he wrote Goosebumps. I don't know if you know Goosebumps. And Neil Gaiman wrote Caroline and what's the one about the guy? Anyway, he wrote a bunch of stuff too, but like the way that they write is completely different. Neil Gaiman will say, well, I just imagine these people in this fantasy world, and then I just ask them what they're going to do. And that's how he writes. And R.L. Stine is completely opposite. He's like, those characters aren't real. I tell them what to do. They do what I tell them to. Whatever words I put on the page, that's what they do. And I mean, it's completely different, but yet both of them are extremely successful. If you guys know the Goosebumps series, I mean, he sold hundreds of books. This guy's also a multimillionaire. So it's like their style can be completely different, and yet they do certain things the same. And you can study what they do that's the same, like how their story is structured, and then you can follow that same pattern yourself.
Yeah, I like that. Because, yeah, you can have two completely different authors who write different, but, yeah, people both like both of their books, and they're so successful. Like, there's so many different methods, but they all work, so.
Yeah, every author's process is different, too. It's not just the style, but it's the process of how they get to the end of the story. I know some authors begin at the end, and then they work backwards, and that's just easier for them because they can, once they see where they want to be, then they can go back a little bit and say, how did they get to that point? And then go back. And so that's a different process. I've tried that, and it works fairly well for me, but every author has to find their own niche, their own way of doing their writing process, especially for the genre that they're in or whether the type of writing that they're doing. It's kind of fun to watch everybody's process, and it's really fun in the classroom to watch how I can give tips and advice, but it might not work for you, but that might work for you. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? And you have to find what really works for you as a writer. So I have to hold back a little bit every once in a while and say, why don't you just give it a go and see where you are, and then I can kind of help you along your process. But I don't want to disturb your process if that's what works for you.
Yeah, I love that. That is like something that I've even learned just being in the classroom, that she'll be teaching something to this other person, and I'm like, that does not work for me. And then she'll teach differently. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my thing. Like, this is what's going to make me be able to actually get this essay done. No.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Well, Ms. V, what are some students' works that you've read that were interesting or well written?
Oh, there are many. And it's kind of hard because I don't want to favor some students and not some students, but all the kids who went to StoryCon, I will be talking about that, were handpicked because they were people who like to write, who have a good writing process, and who are motivated to write. They just enjoy it. And so all of those are kids that I've seen who have written really, really well. Tegan Kinney has one of the most unique styles I've ever seen. And it's really fun to read his stuff. Allison has a totally different process than he does, and it's so much fun to read hers. I've got some up and coming 7th graders. Graydon and Landon are really fabulous. Landon's got a poetic side to her that is really fabulous, and Graydon is just hilarious, and it's just natural for them.
Yeah, I bet that's so fun.
It is really fun to see.
For me, it's always fun to read like all the other people's stories, and like Cadence, her writing is amazing.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I don't understand how she can do that. I'm like, give that to me now.
Yeah,
she's amazing.
We couldn't talk her into going to
I
StoryCon because she was a
know.
little bit nervous about it, but because StoryCon is huge.
Yeah, there was a lot of
huge,
people.
And so for some people that's a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure.
But Tova's a wonderful writer as well. She's got quite a style, and I'm excited to see where she goes with that. It's okay if you don't become a professional writer, but being able to write is such a huge skill for your entire life.
Yeah, can I ask, what is StoryCon? Because I'm familiar of it, but I'm not completely sure.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get to go, but so I sent Mr. Thomas, but I kind of got it set up. But StoryCon it's kind of like Comic-Con, only you have a bunch of authors instead of a storybook character. Instead of, what did they have at Comic-Con? Superman and Spider-Man, type actors. But this is authors. And the kids get to go and take classes from the authors. So I'm going to let them talk a lot more about it because I did not get to go. I just set it up. But I was really excited about it because of the idea that kids who want to someday publish get a chance to go and find out how that process works and talk to authors and get tips and tricks.
And we missed you, Mrs. V.
Thanks.
I wish you would have been there. It was a lot of fun, honestly. But it is really tiring. By the end of the second day, I was just like,
We were all exhausted.
okay, it's time to go home now.
What was your favorite thing about StoryCon, Allison?
A lot of it was really fun. I liked going to all the keynotes and discussions that they had, but it was also fun to just walk around and see all the people and meet new people, and it was just a really fun experience actually.
They had a lot of vendors there too, and I got a tiara, Sally got a tiara, and Allison got a tiara.
Yeah, what was your favorite part, Hadley?
For me, I really loved, they did plays. You could go to each class, but then also during those classes you could go and watch a play. I went and watched a lot of the plays because that's what I'm more interested in. But I went to a few classes, don't worry.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts, is just getting to watch all those plays with all the people from the Hell's Theater or whatever I think is what it's called. And yeah, it was way fun for me, that part. And yeah, I learned a lot from them because they after they would ask you questions about it and give you tips on your acting and all that, and it was way fun for me.
Yeah,
so.
no, that's way cool to have.
Yeah.
For an opportunity,
Yeah. Allison, why don't you tell them about what kind of classes you attended?
I went to an editorial class where it teaches you if you're gonna edit yourself and what you should do and how you should edit it. I went to that one. I was planning to go to a publishing one, but I ended up not. And so, yeah, I didn't go to many, but I went to some.
Yeah, me too. I went to one that was about writing romance, and it was so cool and so fun to listen to, how there's certain things that go into to make a good romance story. I never really because I'm not really ever was thinking about being an author, but I like to write, and so writing, listening to them and teaching us how to write certain areas was so cool, and it was good for me to hear that because it's gonna help me in my future writing too, because yeah, I need help sometimes, but
and so they gave you skills and stuff to use. Oh, okay. And
they kind of just broke it down what makes an actual good romance story, or fantasy or action story, comedy. It was so fun.
Cool.
Yeah. Which keynote or keynotes was your favorite? And Mr. Thomas, you can answer this too because you went to those.
I honestly I didn't really enjoy the keynotes that much. For those who might be listening or watching who don't understand, a keynote is where everybody at the convention is all kind of together, and they usually pick somebody who's really famous, has a lot of experience, And, you know, the keynotes are more like general for everybody. Whereas like the breakouts, they have these breakout sessions, and they have breakouts on like how to write characters or how to publish, or, you know, like they even had ones on like comic book writing. Like there was a guy who was a comic book author, and they talked about art. Like how do you find the right art style to go with your story and things like that. And like honestly, like I was more interested in like the little things. Like one of the breakouts I went to was on like how to write a good monster, like how to create a good monster for a story that needs something scary. And you know, I thought that was really interesting because they had like 4 authors on a panel, so it was a panel discussion.
Yeah.
And all of them were pretty successful in writing those kinds of stories where they had some kind of monster that had to be defeated or something you had to, you know, get away from. And I learned a lot from that, and that's a lot more specific. But that's kind of where I'm at, because I've been like the general kind of stuff. I've been studying writing for probably about 20 years now, and I haven't written as much as I should have. That's one of the things that like Mrs. V talked about before, and also that quote from Mrs. Bagley about just try it and do it, and if it doesn't turn out good, do it again. I haven't done enough writing really to be really good, but I've been studying it for a while, and so those general kind of keynotes where they go over kind of general writing stuff, I was like, I've heard this before, you know. Like I watched this YouTube video and this other author explained this much better, so
I think my favorite keynote was probably our opening one with Neil Shusterman.
That's what I was going to say too.
That was really good. I almost cried a little bit. And like Mr. T said, there was tons of like little breakouts that were like things you wouldn't really expect, but you were also like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, I didn't go to it, but my friends went to one about teaching you how to be a good dungeon master for D&D.
I was also thinking about going to that one, but then I didn't. I went to a different one, but I heard that a lot of people loved that one. It was really good, so. One of my favorite keynotes was also the Neil Shusterman one. Just because mainly I knew who he was compared to a lot of the other ones, but because I loved the Unwind books. But yeah, his is just really good too, because yeah, the opening, and so he kind of just explained how he got where he got and how he's so successful and what makes a good writer. And yeah, it was just really interesting to listen to him. Why is StoryCon a good opportunity for aspiring authors?
The thing that I really was excited about was just the fact that there were going to be so many different types of authors and different types of classes, so that people could make a choice and say, this is what I'm interested in doing. And they could go there and maybe they'd find out, maybe that's not what I'm interested in. And so they could just go to another class.
Yeah.
So just the big variety, I think, is really great, because you can understand, you can find new ways of thinking about your writing and then go try to implement them. So I think that that's an amazing opportunity for anybody who likes to write any kind of books, or, you know, whether they're informative or whether they're dystopian, or, you know, have a million genres. You get to find out what you like to do.
Yeah, that's what I loved. Like, there was so many different classes every day that you could choose between like 5 to 7 different classes, and there was one for everyone. I know there was, like, yeah. There was a Disney one that I went to, and it was like, I think it was a panel, like there was like 4 authors up there, and that one was so fun to go to, just hearing how they wrote Disney and what makes a good Disney book, like, and separate from a different type of book. Yeah, it was awesome.
Can I just put a plug in? I won't be here next year, but I got a grant for the kids to be able to go, because it's kind of expensive to be able to go.
Yeah.
So any sponsors out there? We're looking for you.
Yes. Let's see. Which students attended StoryCon? We kind of already named a few, but.
Okay. There was Allison, Tova, Hadley, Sarah Morgan, Tegan went, Avery Whitaker, Oakley, Gleave, Miriam, Mr. Thomas's daughter, and Josie. Who else was there?
I feel like we're missing someone, but I actually don't know. Maybe not.
Malia.
Oh, yeah, Malia.
Malia next.
Yeah. Malia's another really great writer, too.
Mm-hmm.
She's very creative. What are some good ways to deal with writer's block?
Again, that's a little bit difficult just because everybody's so different in their writing process. For some, and I found this in the classroom for a lot of kids, just telling them, put your fingers on the keyboard and write for 5 minutes, and you don't get to take your fingers off the keyboard for 5 minutes. You write everything that comes into your brain about anything, okay? And you try to focus it, but if you go off focus, keep typing. And then you take 1 minute and you look at it and you see what you do like, you don't erase anything. And then you make a plan. Well, I'm gonna go off on this tangent. And then you do that for, say, an hour, and then you treat yourself with ice cream or something that you really like, and that kind of helps some people get past that writer's block. That's one of the techniques that I use in my class, and it seems to help some kids. For some kids, it's not that effective. They just need to take a break from it and get away from it and not think about that and go into something else. And that's totally fine too. But trying a couple of different things and finding out what your process is. What have you guys found to work for you for writer's block?
Well, when I get writer's block, I step away and I just go, no, not anymore. No, pause. And I'll go like do something else. I'll like watch a movie, or I'll just like read something else, or just go outside. Going outside is really helpful because you just get that breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Or like drink water. Don't forget to drink your water. I got a really bad headache one time when I was writing, and I just could not. And I've stepped away from my book for I think 2 months until about like a week or two ago, and I was like, I know what I'm gonna do.
So that's good.
When I think about writer's block, a lot of times, one of my biggest, I'll just preface this with, one of my biggest pet peeves is when stories don't make sense. I hate plot holes. It is absolutely the worst thing. Like when I invest, tens of hours into reading a novel, and then I get to the end and I'm like, okay, your story from beginning to end has these big holes.
Yeah.
Where it's just
happened? Yeah, that's hard.
It's
Like,
like,
where'd the words go?
the hero is about to be destroyed by the evil monster. Then a meteor fell from the sky and killed the monster. It's like, that is the worst. Absolute worst. So that's what I hate. And honestly, every time that I've been stuck, it's because I'm trying to make the story go a certain way, but it doesn't go that way. It doesn't make sense. It's like, well, I want to write this scene where this character and this character are interacting and they have an argument and then they have it out. And then, later on they realize what the other person's talking about and then they're friends. And it's like, okay, but how do you get to that scene? The pathway I'm trying to take to set this up is not great. And so it's not that scene has a problem. It's that getting there is the problem. And learning to identify what the real problem is a skill. Like, seriously. Because when you're reading your own writing, you have an idea in your head and you don't see those holes. So one of the best things is to give it to somebody else and say, read this, tell me what's wrong.
That's another thing that I remember learning, that like, I don't even know where I read this thing online somewhere, but it's saying how when you write your own, like you said, you miss all those mistakes, like grammar mistakes, like any of that. And so having someone proofread it for you, they're like, oh, this is not right. And it actually helps because, like you just kind of skip over it because you've already read it and you know what you're trying to say. So that is a very helpful thing. And all those books, the books you're saying that have like just the holes in it, those books are so hard to read and I can't read those. I can't. It's already hard for me to read books anyway, but those books, I'm like, I can't.
Well, and learn from the masters like J.K. Rowling. You listen to what she said about her characters. She wrote Harry and Hermione for the entire first book. And she was like, this is wrong. This is not working. There's holes. I can't fill in these holes. And then she's like, I need another character. Then she wrote Ron. So she wrote the entire first book. And then she's like, I'm missing something. This is not working. And then she said, I need another character. So she brought in Ron Weasley. And of course, that brought in like the whole Weasley family, which those are some of people's favorite characters.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's because she said, this is wrong. It's not working. And she didn't just say, well, you know, this part's really good. And I think people like this. She's like, no, it's not working. And you have to have the courage to go back and say, I have to change it.
Yeah.
Even if you love certain bits, you have to change it.
Yeah, you can always, I like this, first thing, you can always change and improve your writing, and that's just sometimes all it takes. We're just going to end with one last quick question. So what's advice you would give to anyone thinking about writing and publishing a book?
Be bold, be brave, try it out, and you will get better with time. Even if you're not a natural, you'll get better.
The best advice that I ever got, and this has come from multiple authors that I saw on all kinds of YouTube videos, they say this all the time. You have to finish the book. You have to finish it. It's like it may not be what you really like, and it may not turn out the way you want, but if you forever revise, then the story will never end. You have to finish the book. And like I said, I've got 2 books that I published that I finished. I got a couple others that I wrote that are not finished, and you have to finish it sooner or later, and you just have to go with it, and you have to be okay with that.
Right. Yeah. Allison, do you have any advice since you're starting to almost publish a book?
I don't know, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah,
Well,
I like that.
I like it. Straightforward.
Go Nike.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for all
Yes,
your guys'
thank you
input.
guys. Yes.
We're just going to quickly end with our true or false question. Most successful authors wrote a bestseller on their first try.
Totally false.
Oh, yeah,
I would say
that's
false. It says most successful authors had to face many rejections and write several books before they became bestsellers. Some had to perfect their craft, build a following, and learn from failure before they gained widespread success.
Yes.
Yeah,
Success-
definitely takes time.
yeah.
You're not going to do it your first try, just like
Success
anything.
comes
But
with trial and error. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. We really
Yes,
appreciate you
thank
guys
you.
coming in
It's my
and
pleasure.
using your time for this. So we're really grateful for that. Thanks
you.
for tuning into T-Bird Talk, and we hope you join us next time.